the good news or the bad news? Bad news. Unfortunately, you can see who's missing. Yeah, sorry. We've just been told she's had to attend a meeting of the Muslim Network. I'm sure comrades can guess what the political reasons for that are. Unfortunately, so she had to send apologies. Zara can't be with us today. The good news is, please, nobody walk out. People standing up, sit down. The good news is, you know, unity of the left. Look, we're talking to each other. We've been talking to each other all day, actually. We had a really good fringe event here all day. We had a live stream on with the conference, but we've also had different organizations here talking to each other who have not talked to each other for a very long time. And that's also a reflection of the Socialist Unity Platform, which we've built together, which does, you know, was born out of necessity, let's put it like that. It was pretty clear a few weeks ago what was going to happen today. Unfortunately, it's played out as we feared, and then some. I think what we've seen today was, I mean, you know, hat off to Gary Murphy. That was a masterclass of manipulation. Absolutely brilliant. All you want to do, bureaucratically stitch something up and stop democracy, that was quite something. The opposite, obviously, of what what happened. Yeah, what happened? Nobody. So, okay, we're discussing today what happened, and we're discussing today how we can move forward. Because this is, I think we're all agreed here, the speakers, you, this is too big an opportunity for the left, for the working class in Britain to just say, fuck this, because, you know, it's been total stitch up, we're walking away. I don't think any of us are going to walk away now. What we'll have to do is regroup, think through what happened, not let it happen again like that, and, you know, we have to get into gear, basically. Today, I think, was a blow for us, for our democratic forces, but what we've seen in action today is that we can discuss our differences. You know, the left shouldn't be afraid to discuss differences. That doesn't mean we have to fight each other and call each other names and, you know, sectarians, etc. We can't be in the same organization as you. Quite the opposite. I think we've shown today you can discuss differences in a comradely way. You don't have to cut off streams when somebody said something, you know, critical. That happened a few times today. We don't, you know, we want to hear people's different views. We're not gonna, once we're in charge of running conferences, we're not going to disallow hundreds of amendments, which is what happened today. 500 amendments were submitted in a really short window that we had. 50 came through that we were able to look at. The rest disqualified, sitting there as drafts. The big questions we were not allowed to discuss, we were not allowed to put forward. The regional assemblies were a total stitch-up. What happened at the regional assemblies? Anybody who's gone to one knows that the idea of a party of the left was ABC there. Everybody wanted a party of the left. There were very few people who argued against that. There were very few people who said, you can't be in any other organization, you have to just be in your party. You know, there was nobody that I've heard about who wanted to kick left-wingers out. Everybody was arguing in favor. And yet, we had no option to call for a party of the left. We had the option between option A, ban the left, option B, ban the left, but really ban the left. So there's no option C. We weren't able to amend it. It was a total stitch up from that perspective. So now we have expulsions. Really happy. Number one enemy is here today. First they came for, you know, Louis Nielsen. That's going to go down in the history books, but in a good way. But, you know, we have to be clear. This is not the end of it. Louis might be the first, Alex Klinikos number 2, who never even joined your party. But, you know, they're going to come for all of us, if you're in an organization or not. You might just like a Facebook post. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Had exactly that in the Labour Party. You like a Facebook post of Louis, out, because you're associating with somebody who's been banned. It's a really, really dangerous thing that conference had to vote today for. You know, I mean, we recommended don't vote for either option, but that's not much of a choice, isn't it? So we have to say this was a stitch-up. And we should also say from today, we're not recognizing it. We're not recognizing that the DSYP has been banned. Fuck us. In our branches, we just say, everybody's welcome, everybody's a member. And if you want to send the police or security forces, we'll resist that. But everybody should be welcome. We should say absolutely ignore the ban. And with that in mind, I'd like to welcome a couple of speakers now. First, Mike Forster, who is from the Platform for Democratic Party, which is the initiative by Ken Loach. And we want to discuss today what happened today and how we can move forward.
Evening, comrades. Thank you. Wait till I've spoken, then decide. Well, we've had some highs and lows, haven't we, over the last few weeks? Probably more lows than highs. I was feeling frustrated and more than a bit disappointed coming to the conference because of what's been happening over the last few days and even weeks, where we've been fighting really to get our ideas onto the floor of this conference. Of course, we've had two resignations of MPs. You've got your own views about that. One of them MP from our area, perhaps two other MPs are about to resign, let's see. We were unsure what was going to happen when we came to conference. And then we, of course, saw what they were trying to do by refusing people admission. It hasn't just been the expulsions. There are several people who've been refused admission into the conference hall. I'm one step behind them. I still can't even get into the party to be expelled. I've paid twice, but they still won't recognise me. So I've been watching across the way on YouTube. We've had the threats of legal action between different factions within the party. And of course, we've had the appalling spectacle of the media trying to drag the party through the mud. And of course, that's what the media can excel at. And we could go on, couldn't we? The motions have arrived way too late. The documents arrived even later. We weren't sure how to put in amendments. It was all going to be done online. So it went on. And so we arrive at conference wondering, how is this going to work? Now I feel more on a high than a low. Tina says that we've been set back today. Well, if this is the conference of the left, imagine what the conference of the other side, the right inside the party, what their faction is discussing. Because they will be saying, we lost every argument on the floor of conference. Which they did. They're trying to stitch up the conference, as Tina's explained, by refusing discussion. And how innovative the left can be. You don't want us to talk about it? We'll talk about it anyway. The comrades got up and talked about the issues. I was in the middle of a live feed and it disappeared. They were cutting off the mic. They were telling people to stop speaking. The chair, bless her, needed a glass of wine, a bottle of wine. People to stop being nasty to her. But she couldn't get people to come up and speak on certain options. It reminded me of Labour Party meetings back in the day, when they'd say, we're looking for 3 more votes before we take the votes. We need a few more option B speakers. Oh, there aren't any. And even the option A speakers, they did very well, because we have 5 option A and 1 option B. They just lost the debate. And they were organised. They were very well organised in advance. But you know what they can't do? What they can't do is silence an organised left that knows what it wants from this party. So if I was them at the moment, I'd be crying into my glass of wine, bottle of wine, and saying, I don't want to chair the conference tomorrow. Can you find somebody else? So I think we should feel really uplifted. What are we left with? Well, there's a lot that we're left with tomorrow. But I should say, by the way, because I've been outside most of the morning and some of the afternoon handing out our leaflets for the Democratic Party. There's a lot of new people here who haven't been involved in anything before, and certainly have only just got involved in your party. And what they were saying is, well, I'm going to see what it's like. I spoke to a lot of those people when they came out this evening. They'd enjoyed it. They thought it was a good session. they liked the debate that had happened, and they agreed with what the left was saying. That's what I heard. I don't know what the rest of you heard, but if there was a clapometer, we won hands down. If we'd had a show of hands today, we won hands down. And of course, we'll see how the votes come in. A comrade raised with me this evening, how do we know who's counting the votes? That's the next thing, isn't it? But we've won the debate. Now, there are some people who have despaired and said, that's it. The Your Party project is over. Too many disagreements. There's MPs leaving. We're behind in the polls. The Greens are way ahead. I would say we come out of this conference with our heads held very high, with everything to fight for. Because they did not want to have elections for the national leadership until next year, preferably the middle of next year. Now they'll have to have elections within the next few days. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We are going to make sure that there's a slate of left candidates that puts up there, and we make sure that we get a left leadership elected. And the clique, the unelected clique who won't identify themselves, will have to decide, are they going to work with the elected left leadership, or are they buggering off with the MPs who've already resigned? Because what you cannot do is put this party now back into a bottle, like the genie. There's no way this can go back into the bottle. This is out, we're organising, and we're active. Now, I would suggest to you all, don't wait any longer in the proto-branches. By all means, have the discussions. In our neck of the woods, we set up the People's Alliance for Change and Equality last year. We had our founding conference in May. We demanded that, Jeremy came to speak, we demanded that a new party was formed. Zara came to our demonstration in October, where 500 people came out on the streets. We're out on the streets. We're campaigning. Set up branches in every area. Elect your offices. Agree a strategy. If you're standing candidates, stand candidates in elections. Look what they're doing in Wales. They are just going to get ahead with it because events are not going to wait for us. So we have an ideal opportunity now, comrades. So from this conference, build and build quickly. The 800,000 are within reach. Why? Because we've had a conference that we could say has been successful. The 50,000 has to grow to 100,000, to 200,000. If they don't give us the data, we'll find them anyway. Whatever you do, we'll find a way around. Because why? There is too much to lose if we fail, comrades. And you don't need me to tell you about that, because you've heard it already. Who are we? The Platform for Party Democracy. It's Ken, yes. It's Audrey. It's Ian Hodson. There's a few of us, only a few of us, got together a few months ago, decided to launch a platform. There's been enormous support. There was the open letter. 3 things that Audrey outlined last night that we're campaigning for. You don't need me to explain it, because it should be bloody obvious now to socialists. Do we need a transparent party or not? Should we have an amendment on that? Well, yes, we'd like to have a transparent party. Who the hell put you on the platform? Who selected you? Why are you anonymous? Why can't you tell us who you are? Those are the questions we're asking. If any of you in here tonight are elected onto the CEC, you won't mind if we find out who you are, will you? You won't mind if you put on the spot and ask where you stand on things? You won't mind if you get social media comments all the time that are negative? For Christ's sake, every post that Zara puts up, there's 100 people dismissing her, and she keeps going, and we support her for that. That's what transparency means. Democracy, you have seen democracy in action today, as in what is not democracy. We want a conference where people are elected by branches, they're mandated by branches, they vote according to the mandates, and the decisions that are taken by conference are binding. It's not secret, is it, comrades? We've all done this stuff before, and we want MPs who are accountable, who can be reselected, and yes, we can discuss it here, a workers' wage, because that's what we want. They can do it in Belgium, and we can do it here, comrades. We already have an organised network. The Your Party Connections network that has been built up over the last few months is meeting on a weekly basis. And we also have, of course, an organised left here today. So, comrades, go away from this conference with confidence. I don't know if you want to talk about football coming from Liverpool, but I'm a Newcastle supporter, so don't look at the scores. So I'm feeling even more confident. But come away from this conference with confidence, comrades, because events, reality is on our side and socialism on the up.
I was feeling a bit shit after today's conference, but Mike, that was a very good lesson optimism. I think you're right. The next speaker is wasn't on the leaflet, but she's very good. It's my comrade from Sheffield, Sophie Wilson, and I've invited her up to speak because in Sheffield, South Yorkshire, we did something a bit different, and I think this actually helped pulling the Socialist Unity Platform together, and it's important we hear about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. I will start by saying I'm not going to go in depth about the Sheffield demands because I do hope everybody who's at least on the periphery of the Socialist Unity project is aware of what happened in Sheffield and how we ran our assembly a little bit differently. And hopefully, I'm hoping that we can take some lessons from that. And I do want to start by saying what has happened today. It's been very disappointing. You know, when this party was launched, I was so excited. I had not had the energy to be particularly involved at this level of politics for quite some time, and I'm sure many of you were feeling exactly the same. But when your party was launched, I saw comrades I'd not seen in months and years because we've not had much to rally around. So the positive thing that has been said is this project has brought us together again. Something that has not been seen to this level in my lifetime, my parents' lifetime, probably my grandparents' lifetime, probably for 100 years, that these left groups, these parties, these organisations actually tried to unite, tried to find some common ground and say, let's fight together. And I think that's really positive, and we can't come away from this conference and let that go. We need to keep on fighting. And the other thing I will say is, one of the reasons I do think it's disappointing is we talk a lot about the cost of living in this country and how the working class have been suffering under capitalism and neoliberalism for quite some time. So to expect comrades to pay for train travel and accommodation is something that I'm not quite sure I can entirely see the point of. If you're just going to stitch it up at the end of the day. So this has been really disappointing and something I hope, I'm talking to the organisers here, many of them who I do class as my comrades, some of them friends, and talking to you here because I know that you watch these videos back. Think on that. Was sortition the most accessible way to divide this conference? Was such a last-minute way of organising things and then stitching it up at the last minute what is fair for the working class, which, let me be clear, is us in this room. Now on to Sheffield. So just something, there was a lot of talk kind of over the last couple of days about how we might disrupt this conference when it became quite clear that it would be a stitch-up. And then I've seen lots of chatter about staying electable and staying respectable. And I totally understand where people are coming from, and I see that point of view. But what is respectable about being on your knees, which as a class we have been for some time? We cannot emulate that in our own circles. So let's learn a few lessons from today. And the sort of protest that we've been talking about, often people say, oh, that's very, it's shouty, it's sweary, it's this, it's that, it looks bad, the optics are bad. I don't think that's true. What we did in Sheffield was so positive, it was really productive, the feedback from it was great. People were coming up at the end and saying, it was one of the best events they've been to in some time, which I thought was a little bit surprising. But
decades, somebody said.
Yeah, somebody did. Yeah, which I'm not sure I quite agree, but it was positive. And we actually said no to what the organisers of the assemblies were saying, and we said no, we are going to take votes, we are going to allow discussion, because that is what is right for our comrades. That is fair, that is healthy, and we encourage debate. And that is what should have been done today. And as we're going forward into tomorrow and then other conferences and events, and as this party develops, I think we should all take note of that and remember that protest, even against our own comrades, is healthy. And you know, it doesn't have to be all spicy. It has to happen. It has to happen for a healthy culture in any party. And again, it was positive in Sheffield when we did that. We were very nervous going into it, weren't we? Because we've been told not to do it so many times. So that if it was a disaster, we were thinking, oh bloody hell, what if it all goes wrong? We've fucked it all up for everybody else basically. But we didn't. And it was good. And then the Sheffield demands did spread around the country, and that was a real positive. So I think we can remember that. Those that have been sortitioned, I'm not a delegate myself, so sorry if I'm speaking out my arse here, but those who have been sortitioned, let's remember that tomorrow, and let's remember that going forward as well. And the only other thing that I would like to add going forward is, you know, we're here today to talk about what next for the left. And I think we are still, as you rightly pointed out, Conrad, we are winning the arguments with our friends and our comrades on the ground. But what is next for us? And I know there's a lot of calls to go straight out there into the community and organising. And I completely agree with that. But the only thing that I would add is I just want to add that we are the community. We are the working class. That is us. So as much as I appreciate street stalls and going out and recruiting, and I want to do that too, I want to see us all, getting involved in our Taras, getting involved in the community organisations that are already there, and injecting those spaces with our politics and making those arguments and those demands and showing people that things can be different and going right back to basics and say we need a complete transformation, and actually it is possible, and hopefully we can all go away with that energy and get as active and involved as is possible for each of us individually.
Sophie. Now, when we saw the Daily Telegraph today, it was very scary. Communist plot, takeover of your party. Right. Apparently there's going to be huge disruptions, and it's all organised by the Communist Party of Great Britain. So we thought we'd get Jack Conrad here to tell us about did that happen? Was that ever the plan?
No.
Oh, what?
Well, I'm I don't know what to call myself. Delegate is the wrong word. I was chosen by a sortition. I actually have a number of different names, and I was expecting not to be chosen. Maybe they don't know my birth name. Either way, I was there. Well, I got chosen for 2 days. My own impression is really what I expected. That this was going to be a stitch-up. It was a stitch-up. I've heard comrades saying they are so inefficient. They can't organise, the Welch stall and all the rest of it. I disagree with that. I think they are absolutely cynical. These people are very used to organising, and they're very, what's the word? They're very experienced in organising a fix, and that's what we saw today. Now, in terms of any conference that I would want to go to, I listen to the debate, we clap, we cheer, and then we do something which should be in the hall. You put your hand up and you vote. And that should have been our conference. And the comrade is right. We won the argument. But we didn't vote. Well, you maybe vote on this. Do we trust them? Do we trust, seriously, do we trust them? No, we don't. We've seen the A, B, C choices. I went up to the stall, the name of the party. I don't know who put in what. I said, none of the above. Right? Computer, say no. That's what I was told. I think all the names, to use a bit of Anglo-Saxon, are shit. Right? The choices we were being given are shit. We've all been at the assemblies. We've seen what the membership have been saying in these round tables. The Sheffield one was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I was saying to Tina, you did a brilliant job and you won 3/4 of the vote. She heckled me. I love heckling, by the way. She said, bollocks, we won 100%. 100%.
To allow voting.
To allow voting, right? Which is exactly, you ask any ordinary person, you have a debate, how do you end it? They do it in Parliament, they do it in boards of governors, they do it in boards of directors. It's something that is fundamental to our culture. Votes, binding votes. A couple of other things. I mean, the chair, I feel sorry for the chair. I sort of know her background. She's a nice comrade, and she's been chosen, I suspect, because she's nice, right? She called for a general strike. I don't know if you remember that. You know, heart's in the right place. But the culture we've got on the left, I think, is dreadful. My own view of culture is that we're going to have a big argument, and we're going to be passionate about it. Some of us are going to be very calm and reasoned. Others of us are going to say, this is what I think, and what you said is wrong. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I've been hearing stuff about, you shouldn't heckle. Now, do you know, seriously, it's a serious question. Do you know the origins of the word heckle?
Romans.
No. It's from Dundee jute workers, right? Noisy factory. They elect someone to read out the left press. Right? That is a heckler. That is a democratic right. Has anyone read Lenin's collected works in terms of his speeches at Congress? Right? There he is, the leader. Well, he's not the leader for a start. Right? He's one of a collective leadership. And what you get in these congresses, in Comintern, Bolsheviks, Soviets, is someone like Bukharin says, what a load of rubbish. You're wrong. And Lenin doesn't say, you shouldn't be heckling me, I'm too important. We shouldn't behave in that way. He says, okay, comrade, I'm going to have an argument. And you get some of the best Lenin. The best Lenin is when he's answering criticism, right? And that should be our culture. So we don't want the culture of civility. We don't want the culture, in my view, of you be quiet. You, the left, shouldn't express your feelings. Let alone the culture. I was in the hall, and I can't remember the comrade's name. I've met her on, our SUP meeting, Socialist Unity Platform. The comrade from Socialist Alternative. I don't know if you're here. Claire. She made a brilliant speech. I disagree with Socialist Alternative on this, that, and the other. But she made a brilliant speech. And it's only when I went outside and I spoke to the comrades and bought a paper off them, they said she was cut off. She was cut off. The membership could not listen to one of the best speeches that we've had on this Saturday. And that is absolute cynicism. That is a disgrace of democracy. The comrade was passionate. She was persuasive. And that is a tribute to good, healthy culture. So, yeah, more clapping, booing if it's needed, no passion, reason. We need all of that. What we don't need is control freakery. We are not bloody spear carriers. We are not robots to be wound up and sent out. We've got all our own views, and I agree with comrades who are saying, go back, I was going to say, go back to your branches and prepare for power. That's what I said before. But no, go back to the branches. Do not carry out the witch hunt. If you allow the witch hunt of one organisation or one individual, we'll all follow. And some of those people who are imposing the witch hunt, they will discover that they're a problem too. Witch hunts are poison. What happened with Corbyn, we published a paper under Corbyn, and we used the Pastor Ninemüller poem, and they said, first of all, they came from Stan Keeble. Then they came from Mark Wadsworth. Then they, who will be left? Jeremy. And then they came for me. How true and how sad that was. So to repeat it in his own organisation, that is, well, And it leaves me speechless, and I'm going to finish on that one. Thank you, Conrad.
Brings us neatly to our next speaker, the first they came for Lewis.
Well, look, I had hoped, like others, to share experiences and thoughts on the atmosphere and the feeling on the conference floor, but I wasn't allowed in. On Friday, I received an email saying I was expelled from your party. I hate to disappoint people in the room, but I saw a report on Twitter that me and Jeremy had a flaming row on the train, and a vision of us hurling insults across the Avanti Northwest with Laura in the middle, crying. That didn't happen, I'm afraid, to let comrades down. For my sins, I saw them on the train, I had a good chat with them. I offered to buy Laura a cup of tea, but the hot water machine wasn't working on the train. So I can't comment on what the atmosphere and what the feeling is like on conference floor, but I'll take the words of others as golden on that. What I want to talk about then is why what's happened on conference floor is paramount for the left, because the stakes are so high. And the stakes are so high not because of what happened on conference floor, it's because of what's happening in British politics. And there are two facts you have to get your head around about British politics at the moment that I think are new to all of us. The first is that the dominant figure in British politics is a man called Nigel Farage. It's possible, and I would say probable, that he's going to be the next Prime Minister of Britain. And I'm not telling anyone anything they don't know here, but we do have to get our head around the fact that if he wins, we are going to see the scenes that we've seen in America. We are going to see masked men of the state sent in to round up our workmates, the people we know in communities, the people we live with, to put them in camps and to deport them. And the Labour government is doing this too, and Obama did it in the States, but Trump's vision and Farage's vision is on a different scale. It's hundreds of thousands. The second fact we have to get our head round is that the man paving the way for Farage, at a rate that I don't think even the wisest future tellers of us could predict, is Starmer. And that Starmer's package of attacking working class living standards, and probably, I think, not to excuse the previous Labour Home Secretaries, but probably some of the most racist language used by the by Labour Home Secretaries, in Shabana Mahmood, is paving the way for it. So therefore, all the debates today, at the conference, in our branches, online, in WhatsApp groups, all of them are about what the left does. And to strike a note of optimism, and don't harangue me for optimism, to strike a note of optimism, cast your mind back to August. Cast your mind back to when 800,000 people had signed up to this thing. Just remember that feeling. Remember the feeling of myself, the people I went to school with, the people I see on a Saturday night who don't go on every demo, they're not part of a far left group, saying, I joined. That thing you've been banging on about, I joined it. I'm joining Jeremy and Zara's thing. People messaging me rather than me haranguing them. There was excitement across the board. And how do we therefore explain where we are now? How do you go from booking, I think, the big conference centre that holds 13,000, which is where it was supposed to be, the big one, the ACC, to booking the smaller one next door of 1,000? And we can focus on personalities, and people will, I'm sure. But it's politics. It's the politics of the Labour Party. We keep saying no Labour Party Mark II. The people who ran the Labour Party are running this party. The unelected clique around Jeremy. So I want to argue that the feeling that gave birth to the 800,000 has not gone away. And some people are joining the Greens, we'll probably all agree the Greens are not the answer. But you can understand why people are. What are we going to do about it then? I want to put forward a number of things, and I'm sure lots of people will disagree with me in the room, but let me put them forward. Number one, I think we do need a united party. I'm for Jeremy and Zara being part of a collective leadership of your party. I've got no illusions in Jeremy Corbyn. I'm sure people think I have got illusions in Jeremy Corbyn. I think that people in this room want to speak to the people who support Jeremy Corbyn. I think we want to be part of a tent with them and talk to them and convince them of why we need a more radical programme. Second thing is, this is the most obvious, we need more democracy, not less. That the reason we've gone from 800,000 to 50,000 paid members to, 1,000 people at the conference? The reason for that is because there's been no democracy. If you signed up for your party, at best you got a few emails, but you never really, until the last moment, got engaged. Got given a feeling that this was your thing. The people at the top are afraid of the membership. We all see 800,000 people as a good thing. I honestly think the people running it see it as a bad thing. They were scared of it. The idea that these people would have a say. So let's get more democracy, not less. Thirdly, I think we should stand candidates wherever possible. And I'm not saying we're going to win them all, but the Socialist Workers' Party, I don't know if she's in the room, Carol, we stood her in Birmingham 2 weeks ago, she got 20% of the vote in a by-election. As an unofficial candidate, it's not earth-shattering, but it shows what's possible. That's without access to the data, no official tweets, no official support, 20% of the vote. Imagine what official candidates could look like. Imagine what your party list in May could look like. Let's do it and stop the Greens sweeping up everything. Fourth point, let's be radical. Let's be radical. Mamdani is not a saint. He went and met Trump. He's part of the Democrats, all the rest of it. We know the criticism. No one has to correct that. But what gave feeling to him is the same kind of thing we want to tap into. An anger at the establishment, a recognition that the left has to build to fight the right, and it shows that insurgent politics can do that. Those four things are not rocket science. What I think people should take from today, from afar, is that I would say 90% of people in your party support them. That's the take home I've got. People want a party that unites the left and involves the SWP and others. People want a party that gets the show on the road. They want a more democratic party, and they want a radical and insurgent one. And therefore, the challenge for us, and no one has the answer straight up, the challenge for us is how do we get out of this room and go and find those 800,000? Let's start with the 50,000. Let's start with 10% of the 50,000. Let's get 5,000 active. That would be a massive difference. So my argument tonight is that out of the conference, we have to learn that the radical left has something to say, as we have in building the movements that made your party possible, Palestine, anti-fascism and all the rest of it. Now we have to try and give a lead. If we don't, history will judge us on throwing away this historic opportunity. I think we can seize it.
Thanks very much, Lewis. Our next speaker is Shabbir Lakha from Counterfire, who actually the person who tried this morning, I think, to challenge the standing orders is a comrade of yours. So well done to Ellie for trying at least. I think that was a brave attempt to try and instill a bit of democracy.
Thank you very much, and thank you, comrades. I want to start, as others have done, by talking a little bit about the conference and what I think shows sort of the sham of this idea of a new way of organizing. The supposedly more democratic, best thing that's ever happened, reinventing the wheel, which actually, as we know from time and time again, reinforces the undemocratic rule of a clique without our participation. And that has been from everything from the sortition that led to this conference, from the way the conference has been run, from the idea of who the leadership should be. And as Lewis said, today's conference should have been massive. It should have been a statement that brought fear to Keir Starmer and to Farage, that the left are on the scene, that the left that managed to get 800,000 people to sign up is able to have one of the biggest political events this country has seen and unite people around it. And I think it is a massive wasted opportunity that hasn't happened. And I tell you what I'm sick and tired of hearing after today, that this was never going to be easy. We always knew it was going to be messy. Yes, those things are true, but that is now being used as an excuse to cover up for all the things that are being done against our democratic rights and against the party that we want to. But I think the discussions that we had, however limited and however stitched up and all the rest of it, did show that the questions of democracy, the opposition to expulsions from the party, had broad support. And if the aim of the leadership by expelling the SWP on the eve of conference was to try and get the revolutionaries out of the room, well then they utterly failed. If they didn't want it to dominate the discussion that happened at conference, they utterly failed. But what was noticeable was the utter lack of politics throughout the conference. There was sort of usual rhetoric around the situation, but very little in developing those ideas, in raising the level of what our political party and political organisation can achieve. And there was very little recognition, although some nods towards it, about the mass movement which created the space for this party to exist in the first place. As someone said, today there was a national demonstration for Palestine in London with 100,000 people on the streets. And it is that energy that has created the space for this movement. It is also a reminder that it has been the revolutionary left that have been at the forefront of building those movements on the ground and on the streets and in our communities that have created the space for this party. And it also shows us, I think, that there is a broad constituency for us to be building it. Just the Palestine movement alone, and it's not a just, it is a historic movement, I think is the best example we have of the broadest cross-section, the most diverse layer of working class people in this country who are united in a cause against genocide, who are politically conscious and who are active and organized in their communities. And I think that leads me to what I think we should be trying to achieve out of your party, be that in the debates tomorrow and how we intervene and how we vote on things and the things that we're going to be agitating going forward. And that is that we do need, I think, a broad left party. We need a party that is guided by socialist principles, that has a commitment to ending the cost of living crisis and breaking from neoliberalism. But in the same way that it cannot be exclusionary of the revolutionary left, we don't want it to be a party that sets up red lines to stop the kind of people who would be on a Palestine demo from being part of this party because they don't agree with exactly this or that line. I think identitarian-based purity politics will get us nowhere. As others have said, the stakes are extremely high, and I'm not going to go through them, but we know this. And I think no matter what happens out of this weekend, this party remains our best chance of a left of Labour alternative, of a serious break with Labourism for the first time in 100 years. And we have to take that seriously. And it means that we need to intervene as sharply as we possibly can. And it means we need to be prepared to agitate on these questions, to implement the democracy and the politics that's needed going forward. And it means that I think our goal should be to have a mass party with a simple set of unifying demands and a program that can pull together the wider section of the working class, that can relate to working class people's lives, and that can show that we are an insurgent force that is serious, that is not briefing the press against each other, but is actually serious in challenging the elite. And I think we need to use this party to build the self-organization of working people, to build the movements that are on the streets and taking on the state. And we need to integrate the party in that. And I think going by the feeling of the room today, I think going by the fact, as people have said, that we had 800,000 people signed up, but only 50,000 as members, and less than 10% of that in the conference today, I think these set of ideas, this direction of a radical party that is insurgent, that is rooted in the movements, and that is actually fighting on the streets, is popular, and I think that's what we have to fight to win. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Before we open up the floor, we have one final speaker, my friend and comrade Max Chadley, who's also a supporter of the Democratic Socialists, like I am. Over to you.
Hello everyone, comrades, friends. Sorry, I was just looking for the assorted journalists from the capitalist press. Probably a few people associated with the security services as well. Let's be honest. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, look, I want to ask people in this room, how much did you pay to come up here? Yeah?
We all spent 150 quid. We spent £180,000 coming here.
Right, well I paid 600 of that in train fares and accommodation. I didn't pay £600 to come to a theatrical show or what has actually turned out to be a pantomime. It's quite interesting really because a couple of weeks ago it was announced that Jeremy Corbyn is going to be playing the Wizard of Oz in a pantomime in Islington. And it's kind of apt really, isn't it? Because it's a fantastic casting when you think about the founding process of this party, which has been entirely smoke and mirrors. The Wizard is, that's what he does. I'm just waiting for the flying monkeys to appear, the munchkins, the munchkins are his former advisors and everything like that. This has been the thing, A lot of us who've been advocating for more democracy in the party, for socialist politics, you go online and we're all treated as if we're records just because we want the party to be what it was promised to be. But the people who are the ones that are briefing against each other in the press, who are kettling people at regional assemblies into small groups, telling them what they can and can't have, they're apparently the correct people. They're the people that we should all be listening to. Now, I worked with a lot of those people in the Labour Party, right? I worked with a lot of them very closely. I worked on the Second Morning Leadership Campaign. I was one of the people in charge of the organising committee. And to see the way that these people have degenerated politically really breaks my heart, to be perfectly honest, because I was friends with lots of them, right? And they've become the thing that they once very much pledged to destroy. They've become the Labour right. In many cases, they become far worse than them, if we're perfectly honest. The Labour right would have pretended that this whole process had a veneer of sort of democracy. More motions probably would have been presented on conference floor today, and instead, well, it's been a shit show, that's it. And we all deserve better. That's the simple fact. 800,000 people signed up, they expressed interest in joining the party, and through the people at the top's machinations, their disagreements, which all spilled over into the capitalist press, might add. In fact, in some cases, reporting their so-called comrades to state institutions and threatening to sue them. There's now only 50,000 people in the party. That's what? I'm terrible at counting. 1 in 40, something like that. I've got an E in maths, so. What?
1 in 60.
1 in 60. 1 in 16. See, don't ask me, I'm never going to be in charge of it. So what kind of party do we need? Well, I think what this period has taught us is that we need a properly democratic party. And I think what the lesson has taught us is that if you don't have a democratic party, how can you ever have a democratic society? The two things are entirely interlinked. What we've witnessed over these past few months is the class struggle alive within the party itself. Right? We've been fighting against a ruling class, a self-appointed ruling class, who believe that they're better than you. Not just better than me, most people are better than me, but they're better than you. Right? And how can you entrust it in their hands to aid and abet the liberation of millions of working class people? You can't, because it's not in their interest. It's about their personal prestige. It's about the privileges that they gain as being part of the party bureaucracy. There was a document, I don't know if any of you saw it, there was a document that was leaked in around August time, And they were all offering each other jobs, 100 grand for this, 100 grand for that. They listed a whole list of roles, but the best bit of it, and this is going to make you laugh, right? The best bit of it said, political director, what does your party stand for? And it was the only job that they couldn't fill. The only job that they couldn't fill was the one about what the politics of the party are. Now, I'm quite optimistic for the future. A lot of people accuse me of being negative, but I'm always full of hope. And, you know, looking at this room today, I think the future of the left is actually quite bright. I think that the future of the left is a left that's going to be far more united than it has been, certainly within my life. Whether or not that will come through this party is up in the air. There's still a lot to happen. There's votes that are going to take place. Isn't it bloody stupid, might I add, right? That we've been dragged up here and we can't take a single vote in the conference room. What was the point? I said to a comrade earlier in the Democratic Socialists, why didn't they just do it entirely online and say to people, record a video for a motion, record a video against, bang them up on YouTube, we'll put it on the website, right? It would have cost us fuck all, and more people would have had more of a say in the direction of this party. I got criticised early on in the Feminist Party because I described the whole process in the language of republicanism, right? Because what this conference was really meant to be was a coronation, right? They didn't want there to be a discussion about the leadership model at all. I was told, I've been told that I was wrong to interpret it this way, but I was essentially told that Jeremy was going to be leader for the first 2 years, Zara had to accept it, and then he would stand down and give it to her. Now, personally, I think that's quite patronising. Secondly, what gives him the right to do so? Does he have a divine right to rule over us all? Does he have some kind of divine right to rule over us all? Because he won a Labour leadership election in 2015 and 2016, and what, we're all supposed to look to him for the answers? Like,
and he ratted on us as well.
And he ratted on us. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. That's true.
The real JC's at the front.
Yeah, Jack Conrad. Jack Conrad came in the real place. Right, but they really did expect this conference to be a coronation. They wanted to put a crown on his head, and we were all going to have to swear an oath of loyalty, and then he would have appointed a court of advisors, which would be made up largely of the people that advised him so poorly during his time as Labour. And they would be awarded 100 grand a year. Someone would be appointed the sheriff of, some province. In fact, I heard Birmingham meeting, the Independent Alliance announced that they were, in fact, this Independent Alliance MP is going to control the West Midlands. This one's going to control the North West. This one's going to, fuck it. Like, they're treating it as if it's their own private property. But what all of this has shown is that, the time for a party monarchy is over, just as it's the time for a monarchy in this country is over, right? They're just as bad. What we need and what all future forms of left organisation require is a party republic, where everyone's equal and no one's more equal than anybody else. And I think that's what we've got to fight. And we need to start that fight now, and we need to start that fight inside of your party, and then if the monarchy continue to oppress us as the autocrats that they are, we'll continue fighting until we overthrow them, and we have a republic in which the governed govern themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, comrades. We want this to be a discussion. We didn't want to do a rally. It's got a few people here now, but I think they were very useful to hear. So we want to now open to the floor, and you don't have to ask questions. You can just talk. 2
2 or 3 minutes. If you could come to this lantern there at the front. You had your hand up first.
Yeah, sorry, we have to do this. We only have one microphone, so comrades have to come to the front and then.
I feel like I'm back in university. Everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
So, right, I'll be as quick as I can because there's a lot to get through and there's a lot of comrades that actually want to speak because none of us got to speak at conference. I don't know if you can tell by my accent from where I'm from. From the north of Ireland or Northern Ireland or whatever you want to call it. But the fact that they said that there cannot be any branches of this party due to self-determination. What self-determination? What vote was called with the Irish people to say they can't join your party? What regional assemblies were called to say we can't join your party? We as individuals in this room, the word sortition, and I refuse to be called a delegate because a delegate is elected. A delegate is from a branch. A delegate is a member that's been trusted by other party members to represent them. None of us have been elected, but they expect us to just kneel over and have a democratic mandate to be unelected for another 4 months. Who thinks that's right? Who thinks that's democratic? Every time, yeah, I'll wrap up. Sorry, apologies. A lot of frustration. None of us got to talk. It's ridiculous. I just want to end up on this. If they think we're going to lie down and take the fact that democracy has not had its day, that no one here has had a vote, that we get the vote online. What fucking conference votes online? What conference doesn't allow branches to be set up beforehand? This is my party as much as it's any English person's party, as much as it's any Scottish person's party, or Welsh person's party.
No,
equal.
this isn't the best angle.
LGBTQ plus people are being ignored.
Can you actually
Trans people are being ignored. Different nationalities are being ignored.
Can't see you speaking.
And I think it's about time. It's great to see so many people here. And we fight it back every step of the fucking way.
I mean, that's what if you're a delegate, I almost said delegate, if you're an attendee tomorrow, that's the kind of stuff we should be talking about, fuck the agenda. If you get called to speak about stuff like that, why weren't we heard, etc. Next.
Yeah, my name is Robert Clough, and I'm from the Revolutionary Communist Group. I want to say a few things. Firstly, we stand, as we did in the 1970s, in full solidarity with the Irish liberation struggle, and we stand for an independent Ireland. There can be no question of any political organisation organising the occupied 6 counties.
Why should a British organisation stand for the occupied 6 counties of Ireland?
Let him speak,
come on. I said stay for the
Bit of heckling. Okay, come on then.
Next thing, Sammy asks, what kind of party do we need? And that depends on what your objectives are. Right, the form of the organisation of your party was adequate to its aims. Aims which are not new at all. I can remember the same sort of political programme from 50 years ago. 50 years ago, the alternative economic strategy, the notion of a anti-monopoly alliance, and so on from the former Communist Party of Great Britain. So the form of organisation, the nature of your party, depends on whether you see the possibility or the need to answer the interests of the working class within a capitalist framework, which is of course what the aim of the political statement that has been approved actually amounts to. If, however, you are in favour of socialism, then you need a different sort of party.
Okay, can you wrap it up, please?
Can I finish? Yeah. Democratic socialism. You see, I don't understand what democratic socialism is. Socialism is the democracy of the working class. It is also the dictatorship of the working class. The two are in dialectical connection. Now, moving forward, it's fairly straightforward. The only basis is on an anti-imperialist basis. And when we talk about anti-Zionism, we have to understand what we mean by it. There is a great difference between standing in support, endorsing or being silent about the two-state solution and standing for a unitary state. John Rees, I'll finish on this point. John Rees made the point that he thought it was irrelevant to the formation of your party whether you stood in favour of the two-state solution or a one-state solution. Yeah, that's the difference between having a pro-imperialist standpoint and an anti-imperialist.
Okay, Conrad, can you now please? It appears the working class has taken matters into its own hand and just started queuing. Fair enough. I mean, it is democracy in action.
Point of order.
Go on.
We're not going to stop at mortification. We have a meeting tomorrow. We need to organise.
Yes.
How are we going to act tomorrow?
But also enough speech control so people can, but please, if comrades could keep it on point, but, we don't want to police speech.
Listen, I think we have to recognise that we really got smashed today in this event. It is true that there was a lot of applause and support for socialist positions, but the fact is that as we go into tomorrow, there's no evidence that the party is even going to stand for socialism or for the working class. So we may get a lot of support, but that's not actually translating into any actions. Now, the question is, I think, behind the witch hunts, why are they coming after the left now in this way? It's not because we have differences on the democratic structure of the party. It's because, as the presenter said, there are different class interests at play, clashing with each other inside your party. What are those class interests? On the one hand, you've got the liberal, mushy, Green Party, peace and justice, raw no hard lines, politics, and on the other hand, you have those who want to fight for a radical socialist party. So the question is, how do we respond to that? Nowhere was that clearer than when they said today, while expelling the SWP and dragging RCG members out of the Corbyn rally last night, what did they do today? They proposed dual membership for members in the Green Party. That's everything about what they want to do. So the question is, how do we do it? Now, we in the Spartacist League, we will fight for democratic measures, but we don't think that's the real problem. The real problem is we have to fight on a clear socialist basis. We have to fight for this party to be anti-Zionist and make no compromises with Zionists. If you want to do that, you belong in the Labour Party. We have to fight for it to be solidly pro-working class, because if you don't want to support strikes, you can go to the Green Party or some parts of the Labour Party.
Thanks,
this is not what our party stands for.
Okay. Can you wind up now, please?
Lastly, I want to
look
say
at the queue.
It is not enough to support Zara Sultana, to support these demands. You also have to be willing to fight for them in your party, which means not accepting unity with the likes of Corbyn, who are literally trying to throw us out.
Okay, thank you, Conrad. You're not from the Spartacist League,
I'm a member of the Socialist Party in Ireland, and I was actually going to withdraw after the previous comrade. I was actually going to withdraw after the previous comrade from the North spoke, but then I felt I had to speak because, to be honest, I'm quite sickened by being lectured by English people about our right to self-determination this weekend. So currently the draft constitution which is going to conference declares that the party will not organise in the north of Ireland. There were amendments put forward by socialists from the north to amend that to say that we should organise in the north. Just to say, thousands of people in the north joined Labour under Jeremy Corbyn because they were enthused by the politics of the north.
We should not.
Okay. Again, like the Irish people speak.
You get the right side of Ireland. Is
So, so currently we have a draft constitution which would allow us to be members, but would deny us the right to organise. The constitution, of course, does recognise self-determination for Scotland and Wales, but also affords them the right to organise. That's being denied to members in the north of Ireland. Now, I'm not surprised, and I completely understand that many people in this room will disagree with me about your party organising in the north of Ireland, and that's fine. And I'm not going to use time now because I have it to convince you otherwise. But I would have liked to have had the chance to convince you from the conference floor. And what I would say, I'm very aware that there are many amendments that were guillotined today, and that was only one of them. But what I would say is that I would ask comrades, even those who disagree with us on the question of your party organising in the north of Ireland, to defend our right to actually have a democratic discussion around that and to be granted real self-determination.
You know, I mean, going forward, I think one role the Socialist Unity Platform could play is actually organise discussions like that, where we can actually properly, you know, without heckling, but actually discuss things. Yes, not bollocks, we have to learn to disagree with each other. And if you can't do it, then you shouldn't participate. Don't shout each other down.
Hi, comrades. I'm Klaus. I'm member of Die Linke from Germany, also member of Socialist Unity in Germany. And I can tell a lot of not that nice things about the Linke in Germany, but I can tell one very good thing. It's a formally democratically organized party from below, with one person, one vote, where you can really change things. We have all kind of apparatus, bureaucracy, parliamentary, we all have that, I know, but you can change stuff and you can fight for it. And Die Linke really has changed over the last month because of the influx of tens of thousands of young members trying to turn it into a fighting instrument. And you might have followed the debate on Israel-Palestine, on the Gaza genocide in Germany, where parts of Die Linke are supporting Israel, etc. But there has been really a fight inside the party, and it's still going on, from the young members to get the party active against the genocide and mobilize them. And so the party really has changed, and it's still a reformist party, no problem. I have no allegiance in that, but I think what I see from this conference, it's really difficult to judge it from the outside, the conference of your party. But if it comes into existence in any way, that we have, or you have the possibility in the branches, in the regions, to fight, to turn it into a socialist class fighting party. So, in that sense, even if I found it really strange how the leadership acted, but you still have some possibilities to work on this. If it comes into existence, we have enough possibilities to return it to socialist and class fighting party. Thanks.
Klaus, you forgot one important thing about the Linke, I used to remember as well. They have platforms, open tendencies, open platforms. Comrades can ask.
Dual membership.
Dual membership, that's right, the whole left pretty much is involved in the Linke in Germany, and it's welcome. I've used the Linke as an example, actually.
Many dual members with the German Communist Party as well, the DKP.
Yeah, well, not sure if I think they're outside, but it's an important lesson we can learn. We should fight for platform and tendencies. Rebecca.
Yeah, hi, Rebecca, Works Power. Yeah, I think it's obvious to all of us that this battle over democracy is a fight about what the party is for. Is it a party that is organising, it needs a passive membership, one that's easily controlled, and is preparing for power, it's preparing to take over the management of this system. So it's one that's preparing to make compromises, which, when it's compromises on things like British imperialism, when it's compromises on things like the cost of living crisis, cuts, privatisation, implementing cuts, making as all poor, that's betrayal. If you're preparing to do something like that, if you're preparing to take that sort of power and be that sort of party once again, and we've been through this in the Labour Party and had these battles over whether you do no-cuts budgets, over whether what you think of Trident, what kind of stand you're going to take when you're under pressure. We've been there before, and democracy was ripped out from under us. What little democracy we had in Labour, in Momentum, was taken away then as well. So we've been here. And the battle is about whether we want that kind of party with stage-managed memberships, or whether we want the kind of party that can actually challenge the injustices in the system, that can fight for socialism. And that requires a party of struggle. And that needs the kind of democracy that we're all fighting for today, with empowered branches that aren't just going to wait for the next election in a few years' time to do something, but are actually going to campaign now about migrants' rights, around Palestine, around the cost of living crisis. So I think that for us going back to our localities after this conference, it's important to remain organised, really important to remain organised together. I think the most important thing we can do is link those two issues, that if we want to get our branches fighting here and now around those issues and not just thinking about 2026 or 2028, then this question of democracy is intrinsically linked to that, and that's how we can persuade the many thousands of people who are not in this room why this fight for democracy is so important, the potential and the future of this party. And it's not an abstract issue, it's about the struggles that they want to win.
Thanks, I think we should stop saying proto-branches. We're not branches, aren't we? Even if we're not officially recognised. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Hannah. I was one of the lucky few that did actually speak today. I spoke about branches having power and autonomy, and the finances effectively being transferred to branches with 50% funding. We know that when we do speak to our ideas, they are incredibly popular in the room, and unfortunately there were some people who were kind of quite, not necessarily on side, but I think the vast majority were in the room. And in terms of practice of democracy, we tried that already today, so I don't know if many of you knew. We actually, a big group of us, probably about 50 of us, about 12:30 did go to this secret room at the back with the point of order room. Sorry, I just find it so ridiculous. Went to the secret room to ask them to allow us to put our points, that amendments that they had secretly removed, that no one could discuss, that were key points to why we need this socialist party. Things like workers' wage, dual membership. These are really key questions we needed to discuss. They took it away, they didn't allow us to discuss it. We went back to the stage, we went back at the end, a big group of us, and they wanted to escort our security at the end. We wanted to demand to speak to the chair to say, this is not good enough. We need to speak to these amendments. These are key things that we need for our party. And again, we were escorted out. There were people at the morning who tried to intervene with Counterfire. Well done, comrades, for trying to do that. What are we going to do tomorrow? Are we going to have a repeat of today where we go and beg and say, please, can we just go and discuss things? Why are you taking democracy away? We need this democracy now. So what are we going to do tomorrow?
I'm just going to echo Hannah. It's my first time I speak here in anything like this, so I'll be slow but very brief. We cannot leave this room without an action plan for tomorrow. Tomorrow is the day of the life of the left. It's going to define how the left, where the left is going to go. We need to leave this room with an action plan that's organised, that we all follow, and that we make an impact, so that on Monday, the newspapers say membership declares stitch up.
Hello, comrades. I want to start by just thanking all the contributions from the panel on the floor. I think everything that's been said has been very important to hear. I'm going to continue this kind of new mood of thinking about how do we respond to the situation. I have a proposal. I believe in the collective intelligence. Here it's individual intelligence, so this is an idea. I don't think it's the idea, it's just to get the ball rolling. And I think a two-pronged strategy might be effective, where on the one hand, the organised left coordinates speakers and floods the main hall and delivers a consistent message constantly throughout the entire day. On the other hand, something like an assembly, something like the conference we would have wanted, is organised, it's just spontaneously organised in the other room. That's it, I just propose it, I just want us, the feelings and the principles, I think we're all broadly in agreement, and now it is time to talk about what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Before I bring in, Conrad, Sophie has a suggestion as well.
A few of us have mentioned that we need an action plan for tomorrow, and I think it was briefly mentioned, you just said that we need one, and Tina, you mentioned right at the start, I don't know if the guy's gone, who made the very first speech contribution from the floor, and I think Tina, you suggested perhaps we could organise here before everybody leaves, and then on our WhatsApps, that every time somebody is called, that we use that opportunity to quite diligently stick to the topic of anti-democracy, silencing those who aren't here, etc. But it would just need a commitment from everybody here, and I'd like to put that out there as a proposal before we leave tonight.
We should repeat it, quite right, over and over and over to get the message across.
Jeremy from Southern Branch, not Proto, and Workers' Power. I'm not going to talk about conference, but I am going to talk about the future. Lewis, you said earlier that you would think it was okay if Jeremy Corbyn was part of the collective leadership. Fine, except, let's be honest, we are in a battle to the death with a bureaucracy that actually wants to destroy democracy inside our party. And the first thing that you need to know about a battle against bureaucracy is you need to build a force that is capable of acting independently of that bureaucracy when they choose to go for the kill. So what we're doing in London is a couple of weeks ago we had 17 delegates from branches meeting together and 2 further delegates from student branches meeting together, and we are planning to have a London Assembly in February with branch delegates and motions and amendments and votes in the hall because we know what those delegates vote for. Now I just say, if they give us the data to build the branches, good. But also collect your own data. Copy the data. Make sure that the people who give you your data give you permission to use it for the purpose of political activity under the banner of your party or whatever it is called. So I think we've got to take those steps because they're not going to stop. Jeremy Corbyn, 1 month after he was elected leader of the Labour Party, he put out a notification to every member saying all councillors must pass legal, i.e. austerity, cuts, budgets. And if you fail to do that, you will be expelled. This isn't Carrie Murphy, this is Jeremy Corbyn's politics. And we've got to wake up to that. And the final thing is, just to the young fella down there, is broad party, broad left party, broad church party. Look, if that means that we have to give concessions time and again to the right wing, we will end up like the Labour Party. We need a socialist party.
We're starting to run out of time, so warning to the speakers, if you could focus, think of what we do tomorrow. Where do we go tomorrow and the day after tomorrow? That would be good, and your responses.
Thank you very much. My name is Charles. I'm from the Revolutionary Communist Group. I'd just like to say a couple of things. Any party, any political party has to have a clear goal about what it stands for, right? Zara Sultana has actually articulated this very well. She says we have to be anti-Zionist, anti-racist, and anti-imperialist, and pro-trans. She's very clear on that. Jeremy Corbyn, on the other hand, who people are putting forward as a potential leader, has not been that clear. He has not said anything
about being anti-Zionist. In fact, he has condemned the Palestinian resistance as terrorists. The Conrad who just spoke reminded us how he implemented austerity when he was leader of the Labour Party. So this is not about the faction around Corbyn, it is about Corbyn himself. He has reactionary politics, he is pro-Zionist, he doesn't support BDS, doesn't support sanctions on Israel, he supports Israel's rights to exist, he supports Israel's two-state solution, which is an imperialist solution, right? If you go through his whole politics, he's a reactionary. So what your party or what the membership should be saying clearly is we want the politics that has been articulated by Zara Sultana. We're anti-racist, anti-imperialist, anti-Zionist, not the Jeremy Corbyn politics. Otherwise, it will be another Labour 2.0. For those people advocating having a branch in the north of Ireland, maybe you should also advocate having a branch in Somaliland, where the British have troops, and a branch in Kenya, where the British have
Okay, two more speakers. Sorry, comrades. We can take these more speakers, and we run out of time. Sorry, comrades. We need to sit down, please, or stand up.
Thank you. I'll try to keep this brief. I know comrades probably want to get drunk at the pub. What I think has been echoed time and time again here, and what I will say is, honestly, fuck them. Nothing in this today has been voted for. Nothing today was decided by anyone in this room. I'm a lottery winner, right? I'm a glorified lottery winner. No one voted for me. No one said that I represent their politics. What I want us to do tomorrow, and what I want us to do today, the day after, is we go home to our ranch, we do what the Sheffield comrades beautifully did, we organise what we want to see. We organise what we want to see, true democracy. And if they tell us we're not doing it right, if they tell us we're not doing it right, if they try to set up an official branch or whatever, if they tell us we're proto-branches, that we don't have a voted right to rule or whatever, we tell them to shove it where the sun doesn't shine, because neither were they. Tomorrow, I'm in complete and total agreement with comrades who say we need an organised response to the bureaucratic stitch-up that was, and make no mistake, this is war on the left, absolute and total war on the left. They will not stop until all of us are passive or expelled. And so we must wage war in return, wage war on the floor, wage war with comrades who haven't been convinced yet, wage war by convincing, show them the power of democracy. I'm open to hear suggestions and such, but I think I'm in general agreement with the idea of holding our own separate branch or conference or whatever you want to call it. Conference? Parallel conference. Parallel conference, yes. Not a split. I'm not that Trotskyist. Yes, a parallel conference where we show the membership how we would like things done and show them how much better it is. Thank you.
Well, we're kind of doing it here today as well, aren't we? That's the last speaker from the floor. Sorry, comrades, we're running out of time.
Okay, so one thing related to the... Yeah, so one thing related to proceedings of tomorrow and another thing that's tangentially related about the future and where we go from here. First thing is that I think it should be open to discussion whether you want to hold a parallel conference or whether you actually want to engage in, whether we want to engage in some form of disruption. Because if we engage in a parallel conference, the optics of it might be nice in the sense that you're going out and you're protesting there, but then it doesn't really look like any measurable dissent, because on YouTube what people are going to see is a very compliant conference happening inside. So I think we should have some discussion about whether we do that or whether we actually start heckling and being very naughty as. Second thing is obviously it's a bit disappointing the direction in which things are going, because being from Norwich, where in fact being electoralist makes no sense at all, and Great Yarmouth being Rupert Lowe's constituency, we were really hoping that this party kind of acted as some form of activist infrastructure. We were hoping that this part, something regarding these finances for the branches would go into supporting parallel institutions that would exist in the absence of the state, like Socialist parties of all of the Black Panthers. We were also hoping, because of the intensified anti-immigration, anti-migrant action as well as anti-asylum seeker action, that we would see some form of direct action being endorsed by the party, as RSS once indicated. Now, when by all indications, it seems like that's not the path we're going to get. So, yeah, I mean, that's all we have to say, but I hope we get that kind of path.
Thank you very much, Conrad. We're now going back to the speakers from the top table. Couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes each, and have, if you can, the focus of where we're going now. Mike.
Thanks, comrades. Well, I think tomorrow, remember first of all that Zara will be speaking at the conference tomorrow afternoon. I think it would be a mistake if we're outside of the hall having a parallel conference. I think we've had a lot of success today in pushing them back, as I said earlier, not as downcast as some of the comrades. I think we should be talking in the conference about what we're going to do when we get back. We should be talking about we're setting up branches, we're standing in elections, we're going to build a party. They need to get a clear message from us that we are here to stay, that we have a plan, and we're going to carry it out. Democracy is not a luxury. To get socialism, democracy is a necessity, and we have to be part of that plan. I tell you who would be delighted if we walked out and had a parallel conference tomorrow, Carrie Murphy and the brigade, because they would then be able to try and run things better for themselves. We're better staying there and fighting and putting across our class ideas. There is already a network of proto-branches and comrades across the country in your party connections. It's already had a regional assembly in Birmingham, a national assembly. We can have a bigger one later on, early next year. But let's organise within the framework of our party, because we want to make it our party. We have elections to stand for. We win the elections, and then we take it from there. They then have the choice whether they stay or not.
Thank you. Yeah, similar thoughts, as I've already said. I do think it would be a mistake, again, to organise a parallel conference. Although I do think that could be done at a later date. Just as an addition to what's been said about why, I think we've also got to think about our comrades who are watching from home, who will only see the streams from the official conference. And the people that we are also directing this anger and frustrations at, we need them to see it. You know, we do want to be united. Whilst we think that they've made many, many mistakes, it would be a mistake on our part to think that we can do this entirely without them. There is a reason why Jeremy Corbyn attracted so many people, and why big name figures like Zara Sultana and the other MPs also attract a lot of people. They get a lot of media time. So we need to be directing our frustration at them. And so I would again propose that we organise collectively some kind of, it doesn't have to be the same speech, but keeping to the same points to make it clear that we are organised in the room, so that there's no way, they can't shut off the live stream for the whole day, because there's no way that anybody else is under any doubt that we are united together. You know, we are going to stand up for our comrades in the SWP and whoever's going to come next, and that we are going to say that actually this was not how we wanted our party to be run and managed in the future. So I really do think we need to be clear that we've organised it here, and that we need to be on the same page in every single speech, and everybody who's been sortitioned is a lottery winner, as you say, is putting their hand up, ready to speak, no matter how nerve-wracking you think that is. If we're all on the same page, we're saying the same thing, I do think that makes that clear, and that's my proposal for tomorrow.
Conrad. I mean, I think that's the right approach. Tell me one. I'm okay. Okay, Jack Conrad, I think that's the right approach. Look, if we try to organise a parallel conference, we put ourselves outside, right? And what's been good today for me is precisely, I don't know who the hell you are, comrades, but I've been listening to comrades, one after the other, getting up and saying, I don't know whether in the SWP, Socialist Alternative Socialist Party, I don't know what they're in, but I'm clapping, I'm cheering, because they say I oppose the witch hunt. And the witch hunt at the moment might be the SWP. As you said, tomorrow it'll be the Socialist Party, the next day it will be the CPGB, the day after it'll be the Democratic Socialists. It will be anybody who opposes them. So the more we say that, the better. They will try to silence us. They will try to say, you're not talking on subject. Let them silence us. That will get a message across to those back home. I want to vote in the conference. I didn't know that people were being cut off. But at home, that sends a powerful message. Is it a technical hitch? Our press will tell people that this person was censored, silenced, and they will be disgusted. We will reproduce what those comrades say. We will circulate it on social media. We'll put it in the left press. So they're making a mistake in terms of hearts and minds. Last point. When the comrades talk about branches getting that is absolutely the right thing to do. Ignore what they are doing. Bring the SWP in, right? But I'll tell you this, last point. The left needs to debate. I disagree with the comrade in terms of Ireland. And the passion I think is great. But precisely, we on the left need to get back to debate, right? Back to arguing with each other. Listening maybe to each other. Because if we don't talk to each other, the chances of a united action are nil. So talk to us, talk to the whole left, all of the left, and then we can unite and we can have democratic votes. It doesn't bind anyone to anything, but that is a good culture. So yeah, keep hammering away, use every opportunity. If they silence you, we'll make sure, the left unitedly, will make sure you aren't silenced. That is a big, big positive message that we can get over, not only to the 50,000, but the 800,000 and millions beyond. There's the socialists, and we are united.
Take videos tomorrow when we know as a lefty speaking, video it, put it out so we know it's happened. Lewis.
Thanks everyone who spoke, and good luck to everyone, all the different endeavours that people spoke about. What do we do next? Firstly, let's understand, what we're living through is the biggest crisis of capitalism since the 1930s. What that's creating is a political crisis which is moving at a speed we haven't seen since the 1930s. How else do you explain a Starmer government that has a landslide in the House of Commons but can win 11% of the vote in Carefully, the land of Keir Harding, or who's seen its vote hemorrhage across the country? What we're seeing in Britain is a new right, a right we've never seen in this country before. We've never seen a far-right party at 30% of the polls. We've never seen fascists put 150,000 on the streets, but we're also seeing a new left. We're seeing 800,000 people join your party. We're seeing the biggest movement for Palestine, one of the biggest movements in British history, and some of that feeds into Polanski and the Greens for all our criticisms of them. Okay, so what do we do as socialists? We have to think, how do you have ideological clarity? How are you hard on the question of Ireland, Gaza, trans rights, understanding capitalism? But how do you apply it to this situation? How do you try and apply it? And how do you reach people outside your organisation? And our argument, what we're saying, is we have to do our best to build an anti-fascist and anti-racist movement. Because like Germany in the 30s, if people look back at this moment and the left didn't step up, and build an anti-fascist movement, history will judge us, but we also have to build and shape that new left. And it's unfortunate that that new left is led by people whose politics we all have criticisms of. That isn't because of the failures of the radical left. This is how reformism works. Reformism has a basis in working class consciousness. So we have to get stuck into the debate. It's an unlevel playing field. The referee is against us. It's biased. The football pitch is uneven. Whatever cliche and analogy, but the test of revolutionaries is to get stuck in. And you get stuck in with making political arguments, with the sharpest politics, but it's also proof in practice. What do you do? How do you try and build the movement, the branches we're talking about, stand candidates, and try and create facts on the ground? That's what the test will be. The debates are important, but the real test will be out there.
Firstly, I'm looking forward to letting John Rees know that he lives in the minds of the LCP rent free. I'm about to make myself very popular, but I want to dispel this myth that Jeremy is reactionary and Zara is progressive, because it's absolute bollocks. I think people should be reminded of the fact that when we had the first national demonstration for Palestine in October 2023, a week after the genocide began, it was Jeremy who was the single MP who supported that demonstration and came and spoke in it when it took Zara 9 days to even mention that Palestinians were being killed. And I don't say that to have any illusions in Jeremy, but we're talking about two reformist politicians who've made mistakes. And that is why they have pulled together mass enthusiasm behind the project that they are both at the head of, and both of them should be part of a collective leadership of that party. Yes, we need more democracy. Yes, it can't be left to just them or the clique who are currently running the party, but they should absolutely be a part of it. There was criticism to what I said about the party being a mass, broad party. We have 100 socialists in a room, we had 20 minutes of discussion, and we found every single thing that we disagreed upon. We need a party that appeals to the millions of working class people, not the ones who sign up to everything that is in our individual group manifestos. That's the kind of party I want to build. I want to be part of a party that is building the struggles on the streets. Because I tell you what, no matter how good your party is, it's not going to fix the problems in our society. That will come from the self-organization of working people. And your party can play a part in doing that, but it is up to us to unite in that party, to bring working class people to that party, and ultimately to organize them where it matters on the streets. I agree with the plan for tomorrow. There is no sense in having a parallel conference. Why run away from where people are gathering to discuss? What we should do is in every vote and every discussion, every single one of you, put your hands up. One of us will get picked, speak, and make our voices heard. And if we do that, and we stay united, and we stop finding the little things we disagree on, then we can win. Thanks.
Look, I'm going to be quick because I actually want to hand over my time to a comrade from the Democratic Socialist to read out what we're planning on doing tomorrow. But before I do, I just want to take a moment of your time. I think it's undeniable that inside of our party over the past few months it's very much been a hostile environment for our trans comrades. The group's been set up with the Trans Liberation Group. You can go on transliberationgroup.co.uk. I urge you all to go and sign up there and to support them in their struggle for their liberation inside our party and inside our movement and inside our society. Thank you.
Thank you, Conrad. I think we're in agreement, at least we are, that we think the most effective option to do is to not leave tomorrow, but to engage on terms that are beneficial to us, on the ground that we are most able to win on. What is that? That is the question of workers' wages for MPs. It is the most successful, when it was removed from the York Party website, it was the most successful motion. It is the motion they refuse to engage on, because it clearly says the difference between the radical left and the central left, or the centre. It is our differentiator. So, earlier today, DSYP comrades, about 50 or so of them, brought a motion to the Standing Orders Room to request that it was added to the agenda for discussion. This was denied. They were told by the end of the day that it would be talked about in conference today about adding it to the motion. This has not happened. So what we are proposing to do instead is tomorrow we have prepared a speech that we would ask members to deliver whenever they have the opportunity to go up to the mic. A speech that lays out that this is an issue that members voted for, the members wanted to happen, and that has been denied to them the opportunity to discuss and vote on. This is a motion that has been put forward by us as the Islington Proto branch and has been endorsed by the entire executive committee of the DSYP. We would ask again. In the room, we have James, who delivered a speech today, and Anahida. They will be also looking to get up there and start the speech. We have myself, Neil, and Juan, who are available outside to try and coordinate this action. We think this is our best opportunity to force them into a discussion on sort of the democratic basis of conference, right? Do members actually have a say in setting the agenda or not? Do members have a say in the issues that should be discussed about in conference or not? I think if we bring this and we make them confront, we either make them accept the discussion, at which point I think it's an easy motion for us to push, or they have to deny it. They have to shut down the debate and show that this is an undemocratic farce. I would ask all of you to please read the provided documents that we will be providing, and if you get the chance tomorrow, to take it onto the stage. Thank you.